We have been working very closely with the Chinese, with European companies and with American companies as well, to strike up public-private partnerships in infrastructure, in our ports, in road development, in housing.
Of recording that damn thing, so we're just going to do it. And the question was basically, why are the Chinese invading all Afro countries? That was the first part of the question. And why do the Africans allow the Chinese into Jamaica? That was the second half of the question. And the answer to that question was because Jamaica is not an African country. It is not a black country. It does not mean that there are no Africans there. It does not mean that the majority of people are not.
Black brothers and sisters, I hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from now. China and the US is scrambling for Jamaica. Now, we've seen Donald Trump coming out to say that China should leave Jamaica alone. And some people feel like he has no power to dictate whatever should be done in Jamaica. Now, Chinese have been there and have been working with Jamaica for the longest time. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, has come out to express his views, and he thinks that China should remain in Jamaica. So let's watch this video, then have a quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
In water, and that will drive our growth primarily. Luckily for us, we have managed within the IMF context to have stability. We have managed to get an alignment of our interest rates, our exchange rate, and our inflation rate, which we haven't been able to get that alignment in 30 years. We have that alignment now, and that is what we see resulting now in growth. Moderate growth, but growth nonetheless. And if we are able to continue with stability, I'm very optimistic that our growth rate will increase.
Prime Minister Holness, I noticed you mentioned immediately China when you first started speaking, even before the United States. Just wondering, are you trying to shift away from a dependence on the United States and maybe even areas like Europe that are slowing down and where China is obviously...
Well, strategically, countries should diversify their investment portfolios as much as possible. The United States still remains our major trading partner.
Clearly.
And still a significant source of foreign direct investment in Jamaica. We would want that to continue. We would want to deepen that. But certainly, the Chinese also have an interest in Jamaica. And from our perspective, diversifying our investment portfolio is a strategic move on our part.
Tell us about what's going on in the world of tourism. I mean, when you think about Jamaica, you always got to think about tourism, right?
Well, you know,
how's the business?
We have to give credit to our tourism minister. He's so energetic. He has managed to keep tourism flows going. Certainly, whilst other countries in the region, their tourist arrival would have fallen significantly in some cases. Jamaica's arrival keeps on growing, and that's very important to us. Tourism is now the largest foreign exchange earner for Jamaica.
Is there opportunity right now for an investor who wants to, say, invest in tourism? What are some of the opportunities and immediate opportunities, not just...
Well, immediately, we've just now developed the regulatory framework for casino licensing, for casino gaming. And that is an opportunity. Jamaica could become the next big destination. We don't want to change the nature of our tourism. We don't want to become a gaming destination, but certainly that is a part of the market that we could develop. Jamaica also could very well become the next big destination in family tourism. And we have to move that way. We also have attractions. There are several areas in Jamaica which have historic value, which we have not maximized, but we intend to do so in the future. So there are significant investment opportunities in tourism in Jamaica.
Investment opportunities. What about government spending? Tell me, every government in the world is facing the same kind of issues, right?
Jamaica is no different. Fiscal discipline has to be the hallmark of Jamaican governments going forward. We cannot continue to borrow as we have done in the past. We have to borrow with a strategic view in mind. Borrowing has to match priorities, and priorities that we decide to select have to deliver results in order that we can continue spending on our social programs. It is a sea change in how politics is done in Jamaica. I've certainly placed managing the national debt as a priority. And so all our borrowing going forward will be strategic and based on our national interests and priorities.
What about the politics of Jamaica? Is that going to support this strategy?
Is there going to be an election this year?
Yeah.
Why do you ask me that question? That's a tough question. The markets, which consolidate information much faster than people do normally, the financial markets are saying you need to have an election this year. It's not quite clear in the political market between political parties and people's political views whether or not we should have an election now or later. But certainly the financial markets in Jamaica are looking forward to having a resolution, because it is really a vote of confidence in government policy.
I started off just posting about my life. I started off posting about things that happened in my life. Unfortunately, I am not Black and I identify as Jamaican. So that's very confusing to a lot of people. And I don't think I would have gotten the kind of responses that I'm getting now were it not for COVID and the current climate, which kind of erupted into what I'm told is Asian hate. I heard about it. I saw it on the news, and it did not affect me because I'm primarily in South Florida, and South Florida is a very diverse area. It's very Hispanic. It's very Caribbean. And I tend not to stray too far from home when it comes to my base because I have to keep traveling back and forth between the Caribbean for work. So South Florida became my base. And if you didn't know, we have pretty much everything we need to sustain a Jamaican diet and all that stuff here. The climate is similar and everything. So I never really understood what they meant when they were when the legislature in America and they're lobbying saying, hey, we need to do something about Asian hate. So that really did not resonate with me until I started getting a lot of pushback on Instagram. And it took me by surprise because I've never seen or felt racism before, not like this. And I continued to do my funny videos and my stand-ups or whatever you want to call it. And it's like there's a disconnect. Again, why is this woman trying to prove so hard she's Jamaican? And I'm not. I'm just being me. And, part of being Jamaican is that we do these memes, like video memes. And, hey, if dog not chase you down one road, are you really Jamaican? But, coming from somebody that looks like me, it sounds like saying, are you trying to say that we're not Jamaicans? What are you trying to say? And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go again. No, that's not how it works. That's how the culture works, That's kind of how it started. And then the ignorance started. And when I say ignorance, I don't mean it in the Jamaican definition where you just get mad quick. They do get mad quick. Ignorance as in you don't know better or you're lacking in knowledge. That's how I put it. And I realized that a lot of people thought that Jamaica was an all-Afro nation. Homogeneous, is that how we pronounce it in Jamaica? Yes. Or in America, say homogeneous, that it was just this one thing. And I'm like, no, didn't you realize the motto is out of many, one people? Why do you think it is that? And then lo and behold, again, everything is a learning process, So I approach everything as a learning process. And so that happened. And I go, wait a minute, other people have their own translation of the motto. Because to me, growing up in school and being taught civics, out of many, one people is supposed to mean that all these cultures clashed after 1856. And out of that clash burst a new nation that was diverse and culturally so tangled and beautiful. And, growing up, I didn't face racism. I wasn't told that, hey, Chinese girl, don't you over there, so we over here. So they'll tease you, of course. I got that. That is why my skin is so thick, because send you back to China. But that doesn't mean that they weren't going to play with you on the playground or come over and invite you over to sit with them and eat lunch. Never. So, my friends will still joke about that. A cute guy comes up and talk to me. Hi, you single? And they'll come up, you don't want a real Jamaican, that's funny. It's hilarious. And then they catch themselves going, oh, not you're not a real Jamaican in the Lona. And I'm laughing my ass off, you're not going to leave this one down, But it's okay to joke about it.
So what is so different now, Lorna? What is so different now? You said, well, you're accustomed to the tease and
to the taunting about, having a Chinese background. And so what makes this so different now, especially with
political climate? The political climate definitely makes it more difficult. I mentioned COVID before, right? That added insult to injury. We have Chinese corporations like China Harbor Engineering Company, which has a very bad reputation of coming in, abusing the natural resources of a country. I'm not going to say buying up land. They don't buy something that's not for sale. You understand what I'm saying?
So wait a minute. Let me clarify. So are you saying that these are the arguments, these are the noise around Chinese immigrants, migrating into different countries? Or
the climate is slightly different. History repeats itself. It absolutely does. And if we do not learn from our history, we are bound to repeat the mistakes of our past. Okay? And that's why you see me focus so much on history in a lot of the reels that I do. It's important because I think a lot of history in Jamaican education has been lost. I mean, in fact, I was just recently told that they don't even teach civics in Jamaica anymore. They're focusing on math and English and all the things. So I'm like, oh, so you guys actually did not, do a civics class? Because I'm sure if I went into my garage right now, there's an orange book that says Civics for Young Jamaicans.
So how would you describe then what would be the paradigm then? How would you explain Chinese immigrants in Jamaica to counter the narratives of the coming in, buying up land? What can you use to counter that argument to say this is the fact?
They are coming in and buying up land. That's the funny thing. They are, and it doesn't make me happy. Where the history comes in is when what you have to realize is we're not the same tribe. You see a Chinese person and you think all Chinese are coming in. So when you see my videos, the thing is, oh my God, colonizer, they're coming in and buying up. And I think Dr. Omar Johnson put my face up on screen and did a whole lecture on what's wrong with the Chinese buying up land. I'm the wrong person to put up there. Who for face they must have put up there, sir? Not even my own. Somebody who actually was born in China. Mm-hmm. That's who you're supposed to do that. I'm like 3 or 4 generations removed. I can probably trace my lineage to the first Mr. Chin. The reason why Jamaican people call every Chinese person Mr. Chin, Miss Chin, I can be traced back to that man. I'm the wrong person to be putting up there. And I think that it is important for us to know the history. Some of the ignorant questions that come up are, what has Chinese people done for Jamaica? You don't know the answer to that. That's a really dumb question. Chinese people didn't do anything like invent reggae music. Who do you think invented reggae music? I think one person invent reggae music. And the irony of that situation is, in that studio with Tosh and Marley and, all those guys was a man named Leslie Kong. And he was one of the producers.
And because there's several others as well. I believe one of
Byron Lee.
Patricia
Chin.
What's her name? Could you repeat?
Patricia Chin and her husband. I can't remember the husband's name, but I know Patricia Chin does lectures at UWI about, she brought reggae music to the mainstream. Leslie Kong, he was so instrumental in the early days of reggae in terms of The Harder They Come. He produced all of that, Tony Rebel, all of those guys. I'm not saying that we invented it as a subculture of Jamaican culture. I'm saying that out of many, one people, we are our motto. It's the butterfly effect. If Leslie Kong wasn't there, would it be what it is? Would it sound like what it is without his creative input? Without Patricia's shop not being there, we could probably do a whole movie on what if, those little movies where you take out something and see how history would have unfolded. If Channel 1 wasn't there, all those things. You cannot erase us from the history.
And that's a key point. So is it then that because of so many years that you talk about from 1865 when Chinese immigrants started
56. That's 10-year difference. Yeah,
I'm thinking about the civil right, the abolition of slavery. So when the fact that they arrived and they settled in, and when I mean settled in, they were mainly passive or invisible. They were just bent on building business in commerce and
they weren't passive and invisible in the first part. No, I don't think they were. Remember that they had to work the sugar plantations.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to work alongside other ethnicities, the Indians, the Irish, and the African descended former slaves. They didn't just come and start open up shop. They worked their indentured labor contracts out, got what they were supposed to get, and decided, I'm not staying here. I'm not going to do this. I want to do something else. And the reason why they chose commerce, retail, and wholesale business was when you don't speak the native language, you have to put yourself in a position where the customer comes to you. You don't go to the customer. You have to understand the logic and the history of why that unfolded. That's why that is. And like I say, history keeps repeating itself. And one of the things I wanted to really do, and one of my reasons, is just pick up the camera and go, "But look like my own shop to you." Because I do not own a shop. I absolutely don't own a shop. The customer comes to me, not the other way around. So that generational tradition did not get passed on to me when the shop was being, closed down. Lana, you want a shop? No, me don't want a shop. What may I do with shop?
However, though, Lana, we're talking about even participating in the political structure. They, are very active in the music business, as you pointed out. But what were the participation? And the reason why I'm saying this is because this is a starting point then for the Chinese community to be more visible and more outspoken and more active then in terms of trying, participate in the activeness of the culture. Now that you're coming out and you may be you're raising your no, you're coming out in a sense and speaking out more, it may seem so different. And Jamaican people say, well, where were you all this time? Right?
Me personally or the Chinese Jamaicans? Because you do realize that the Deputy Prime Minister of Jamaica is Horace Chang.
You're right. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Delroy, Chuck. All of those people. The Deputy Prime Minister. That's why when people ask me, I live across the street from Horace Chang in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
That's the irony of the situation. So when people ask, I think it was the guy from African diaspora. Come, I have a bone to pick with him, by the way. What a dunce idiot. Actually accused me of cultural appropriation after him said the whole thing. After him said the 2, 3, 4 passports in my hand. Cultural appropriation. Seriously? Didn't get the point of the video. He said, what's next? Are they going to run for office? Chinese Jamaicans have been running for office and are a part of Jamaican government for decades. Chinese Jamaicans are so integrated into the foundation of Jamaican culture that when there was a mass exodus of the upper and middle classes in the late 70s to early 80s, and that is another part of history that a lot of people don't know. Manley's social revolution triggered a mass exodus of Jamaicans who had the ability to leave, migrate to the United States, Canada, and the UK. And that emigration jolted the economy, and we still are recovering from that jolt. When I was in prep school, grade 3, grade 5, the Jamaican dollar was 5 to 1. Now it's 150 odd. And I remember when JLP came into power, when Manley lost the election and we did not become a communist country. I remember all that talk. I remember Reagan coming to Jamaica and the Secret Service and the soldiers up on Stony Hill because of the route that they were driving Reagan through. I remember all of that. And then to grow up and read about how the CIA manipulated Jamaican politics, threw us into debt, forced us into debt with the IMF, and to have foreigners living in the United States, like myself, who are a part of the problem, blaming the Chinese. That's absolute ludicrous. Learn the history, understand the why, and then you will learn to stop blaming other people for your problems.
You also have to understand, and I support you on this, and hopefully I don't get any pushback in terms of.
You won't get pushback with anything from me because I speak the truth and I speak it so bluntly.
No, I'm agreeing with you, but pushback from others per se. So the education piece, I 100% agree, where we don't understand the political underlining of why things happen, when things are happening, and we only get in just tidbits, and once it trickle down, that stories change and the point of view change, and we really end up with not much. And so what do you think you can do then to she's smiling, to using this platform, the fact that you're getting so much attention, to inform us and to inform even you take it as a school tour for say high school students, because I believe you. I appreciate the point when you said there's a lot of things. The civic education aspect has been removed, and the education piece about the history and the out of many one motto is not understood, and we need to reclaim it and make sense of it. Because for example, it's not just Chinese population in Jamaica. There's Syrian, there's Lebanese, there's Jewish population, and all sorts of different ethnic groups from Europe and Asia. So it is unfair for them to simply target one group. So what do you think about making, just doing a tour of the high school and create like an educational piece to inform, because it seems as if the people that are coming at you on Instagram, there are so many different pieces that people may believe the noise over the facts.
Okay, so I didn't ask for this platform. It was pretty much dropped on my front door. Yeah. It feels like Amazon had a drone and it was here you go. This is an Instagram account with all the bells and whistles turned on. When I say turned on, I have never seen an account grow like this, and I do this for a living. I had 154 followers, and I made a video to my 154 followers.
And where are you now?
Oh, close to 70,000 in a matter of 4 months.
Well, that's incredible.
Once it went past 30, all the bells and whistles started to turn on. And I was gaining about 10,000 followers a week if I posted. And then there are times when I just get busy with work and I stop posting. And that's when I say all the bells and whistles turn on, the monetizations, all of it is on. Subscriptions, everything was just thrown at you. And I'm sitting there going, hey guys, what am I supposed to do with this account? It was an accident. And what I know I'm really good at is pissing people off. It's a gift, trust me. And it's why I stayed away from this. Whenever I did my videos, I kept my face out of the video. I was doing all of these cooking videos. Nobody knew I wasn't Black. Oh my God. One day I got put my face to the camera and I forgot to turn on my fake American accent. And I do fake an American accent because I am tired of the questions. So why do you sound Black? I'm not Black. I'm Jamaican. We're Jamaicans. Yeah, but how did you guys get to Jamaica? Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, you know what? Let me just fake an American accent and we just avoid the 50 questions. How can I use my platform? Well, you see, the reason why my videos went viral in the first place, unfortunately, is because of the controversial nature in which I did them.
Yeah.
I have been doing videos, and there are videos on YouTube and Instagram. Jamaicans.com is a very popular forum that I enjoy. Their Wayne Chen, they put these things out there, and people, who are interested in the topic, read it. What I was able to do is I was able to reach people who wouldn't normally read or watch those videos because they don't care. What I did was I triggered them. Why did I trigger them? It was a challenge. Can you hit 1 million views in your next reel? I said, absolutely. Would you say this? Yes, but not quite like that. Okay, then it's a dare. I might hold my bear. Boom. And that was when I dropped the African video. Jamaica is not an African country. Why did I say that? Well, I was responding to a very specific question. And what happens, because I was new to the Instagram thing, is when somebody deletes their question or their comment and you respond to it, that little thing at the top goes away. And the video loses its context and then the thing goes away. And I go, oh, shoot, I just wasted a whole reel on that one. So I was like, you know what? I don't care. I went through all the...
We've seen how the US, through Donald Trump, who has been elected the president, are trying to control Jamaica and the whole of the Caribbean. Now, some time back, he had a meeting with all Caribbean leaders, and you can even see and hear the tone he used while talking to them. And it really raises some alarm. Like, there is no mutual respect between the two. He doesn't even respect the leaders in the first place. I'm not against Donald Trump, but I'm against the approach he uses for the diplomatic issues. Now, I've seen so many people talking about how the US and China correlate with their partners. When I say their partners, I simply mean their allies in business and in so many other things. And US has actually been so vocal on democracy. Now, the whole thing, how they talk and how they address issues, it must be democratic. But on the other side, China and Russia does not even actually try to meddle with the affairs of their partners. Like, they do not meddle politically, socially, or economically. All they bother is how they deliver on their memorandum of understanding. If their contracts were signed and they should be delivered by a given specific timeline, so they are actually going to work with that timeline and to make sure the contract has been obeyed and that the memorandum of understanding that was signed by the two countries has actually been put in place. Now, this is where most countries in Africa will now go for BRICS, and most countries will run to Russia, will run to China for development. And this won't be the difference, or it won't be different with the Caribbean countries, because most Caribbean leaders feel like, you know what, if we actually go side and do business with China and Russia, we get some respect, right? And in that case, the people try to gain more, because we've seen the US and the West, whatever they have caused to African countries, war everywhere. Go to Congo. They are fighting from 1983. They are still fighting to date. Now go to West Africa. Almost all countries in West Africa have been faced by terrorism, in the community clashes and all that stuff. And I feel like there is someone who has been sponsoring this. That's why we see adamant leaders like Ibrahim Traore are coming out to say, no, we know your tricks. We've been there. And our parents and leaders have been lenient with you. They have collaborated with the evils that you've done. And for this time round, we are not going to actually bow down to your policies that have actually killed our economies. Now, US and the West thrive on poverty and diseases. When your countries are stricken with poverty and diseases, that's when they send US aid, that's when they send so many other stuff. And they have always been having the support of WHO in committing all this stuff. I talked to a friend one day, and on the comment section, he told me, you know what, Ellie, there are no diseases in Congo like Ebola and other stuff. Other diseases are being created by WHO and all these Western countries so that they paint a bad picture of Africa. They paint a bad picture of Congo so that no one wants to travel to Congo, so that whatever happens in Congo only remains with the people of Congo. They do not get the exposure that they need. And it is for these reasons that adamant leaders, those leaders that are coming up, those leaders that are young and they have foreseen things that have been happening in their countries for the longest time. Our fathers were not very, very aggressive with the fact that we are independent. Our sovereign powers have been taken back, and it's like we are in another war fighting back to get our democracy, our rights. That someone just comes to your country, extracts the minerals in your country and leaves, because the president who is there is a puppet and can't say anything, because the leaders who were elected by the people are just puppets that if they say anything, they'll be threatened. If either they'll be threatened by getting out of power, being removed from power, or they'll be threatened for their life. And in this case, they tend to protect their own life. And some of them have gone ahead to sell their own conscience and that of their countrymen just because of the fear they have for these Western countries. Now, people are knowing the truth, and you are going to agree with me. Sometimes back in 1963, when he was doing his last interview, Malcolm X mentioned that there is a time black people will be so vibrant and they will know the truth. They will unite worldwide. That black people in Africa will be calling out their brothers in the diaspora. And those in the diaspora will actually be coming back home. And to that time, the Western countries will fall. The white supremacy will face a major challenge. And for this case, they will come out calling each other for the atrocities they have caused to black people. I feel like this is the time the prophecy is coming out and is being fulfilled. Malcolm X might have been assassinated 60 years back, but we still can feel his prophecies. And today I say it. In the next few years, black Americans, FBAs, AAs, and all other diasporians who I haven't mentioned, like the Latinos and the rest, they are going to know the truth. And they will be so aggressive to come to Africa. And they will want to unite with the people of Africa to fight for whatever is theirs. Some of them were taken from Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, of which saw millions of our black brothers being shipped just like goods in a container. Some of them died during the journey. Then they worked their efforts, they worked their blood, their sweat to see the economy of the US and the Western countries stable. The Industrial Revolution, I keep on saying, without black people, there couldn't have, nothing will have happened like Industrial Revolution and so major other stuff that boosted the economy. So respect to black people. And they worked for free. They were never paid a penny. That's why we are still calling out the Western governments to pay for black reparations. Time is coming, black brothers and sisters. And it is coming so fast. Jamaicans, Caribbeans, black Americans, Africans, it is time to wake up from the slumber we live in. We've been sleeping for the longest time. I feel like we should wake up, reprimand these people, and let's focus with the unity of our own people. If we actually get divided, on a daily basis, and that's how they have ruled us for all this time. We are going to be weak with the time. But if we unite, we impose a threat to them, and they will know that black people exist. They've wanted to erase us. They wanted to do away with us, but God has stood with us all this time. So thanks so much for having taken your time to watch this video. I appreciate so much. And if it's your first time on the channel, please leave a comment, and you can share the video to other people so that this message reach a mass of people who are not accessible to the channel. Thank you so much. See you later.